About 2 years ago, in 2022, we interviewed Gil Ben-Moshe, an actor and a film producer, about his movie called ANNO 2020. In a nutshell, it's about a global kaleidoscope of interconnected characters seeking redemption, forgiveness, and answers amidst the chaos of ANNO. The movie has been completed and even won the Titan International Film Award in Sydney in the end of January. And for more details about the film, we are now joined by Gil Ben-Moshe and James Morcan, which directed the film. Let's say hello to both of them. Shalom, Gil and James.
Shalom to you. Good morning.
Shalom as well.
Shalom to both of you, and congratulations on winning the award. It's really an amazing achievement. Let's start with Gil. Tell us about your production company and the films you produce.
Okay. Well, firstly, thank you very much for having me on the show again. I greatly appreciate it. Look, basically, I run a production company called Money Shot Productions, along with my twin brother, Oren, James Morcan, who is the writer and director of ANNO 2020. This is the fourth film that we've made together, so we work on films together. And this is what we love doing, and this is what we'd like to do until I'm 6 feet under. Amit, shall we put it that way?
Okay.
This is the love.
James, what does the name ANNO mean?
So ANNO means, in Latin it means year. So it's year 2020. That was based on it's based on my novel of the same title, and it was written during that time, so it was inspired by everything I was seeing with the world kind of going into meltdown and experiencing something we'd never experienced before, which was, lockdown, social distancing, breaking away, and then it developed further from that to really quite deep stories around the world exploring various things.
This film has been shot on so many continents around the world. How did you manage to shoot in so many locations, and what technology did you use to achieve it?
That was essentially a lot of tricks we had to use, and basically things that are first time ever used in cinema, many of them, and it involved hiring crews around the world, but using also the remote technologies that became available during this time as well, and basically piecing it together and working as if we were there, but often we weren't there. So we could shot around 3 states around Australia as well. We could get around there, but internationally we just couldn't travel. So it was that type of thing. But I would also say that it made people. There was a camaraderie because a lot of us were locked down around the world. So even though we were shooting internationally and we weren't in the same place, we all had empathy for each other because of the same situation.
Okay. Maybe, Gil, would you like to tell us about the Titan Award this film just won?
So James, myself, and Oren, we attended the awards night, and we won Best Experimental Movie for 2023. So it was honestly a great honor to win that. It just really is validation that what we did was something we hope that people will view it as being something special. And we attended the night, and James accepted the award and gave a great little speech. And yeah, it was fantastic. It's a great accolade for the movie and for everyone who was involved in this production.
Gil, what were some of the challenges as an actor in this film you have experienced while shooting, specifically when filming in so many locations around the world?
I think when we're dealing with 5 different time zones, that the trying to get everyone all on at the same time was very difficult. I think when you say, James, that was very challenging because most of the times we had to start shooting at 4 a.m. or 2 a.m. Sydney time, which was in the morning in another country and so on and so forth. So I think coordinating the shoot schedule was probably a very, very tough challenge, but we did end up making it work. There's a particular scene where I don't want to give too much away, but it involves quite a few of the cast members, Amit, and we just had to work with all the different time zones pretty much at the same time. So could you imagine shooting in 5 different countries at the same time and everyone having to be on at that time, where it could be very early morning here, very late evening there, during the middle of the working day. So that was probably the most challenging. But you know what, Amit? There's no movie, I think, that is ever going to get made where they don't encounter challenges. But when you're shooting remotely, I think you have to think outside of the box as well. But that kind of worked for us as well, because when we were shooting, there were no distractions, if that makes sense, because usually there's, on a film set, you've got so many cast members and crew members, but when you're shooting remotely, it's different. It's a very unique feeling. It's kind of eerie at times because you're feeling on your own, but we made it work, and some of those scenes actually ended up being some of the best scenes in the movie. Wouldn't you say, James?
James, what do you say?
Yes, absolutely. I think it was just the energy flowing. It felt like we were all in the same room.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? Yeah. We were all working together. So
right.
Yeah.
There was great camaraderie, Amit, on this movie because so many people, or everyone who was on this, basically believed in what we were doing. They believed in the story. They believed in James. And you know what? That's the most incredible thing, I think, was the way people believed in our first-time director. You know, usually a lot of actors, and a lot of them are super, super experienced. Some of them are big stars in LA, in Hollywood, and they've worked with some of the best directors, but they really believed in James, and that made it so much easier to work with, because once you lose the respect of the director, then, or the actors, I guess, towards the director, you're in for a very long haul. But it really worked well because everyone just loved what we were doing.
Few of the scenes in the film are related to Judaism. And one of the scenes in particular caught my attention where you, James, play a Holocaust denier and Gil is confronting you. It's such a relevant moment, especially nowadays, where we see more and more anti-Semitic activities around the world. Gil?
Yeah, well, look, for me and for James, and I think for most people, who viewed this was probably one of the most powerful scenes, I think, in the movie. And I think it was very important because, especially like you just mentioned, anti-Semitism, the way it's just skyrocketed around the world at the moment is very scary.
You know, talking about Judaism, James, an interesting story by itself that you actually wrote a book which is called Debunking Holocaust Denier. This is exactly what we see in that scene.
Yeah, so I think that the book relates in some way to this scene we're talking about in the cemetery. So the book I wrote was called co-wrote with my father, and it's called Debunking Holocaust Denial Theories, and it's written in collaboration with two Holocaust survivors as well. And then it involved, interviewing a lot of survivors or World War II historians as well. And it's essentially, as the title suggests, it's just systematically debunking all Holocaust denial theories and trying to put that horrible attitude, really. And it was inspired by how much, seeing how much around the world the Holocaust denial continues.
Gil, maybe you can tell us what happened that inspired this scene.
Absolutely. So basically, I was just in a retail shop, just looking for clothes, and the store owner started talking to me, and the pandemic came up, and he obviously had no idea about my Jewish background, and he was his background was Muslim, and he was pretty proud of that. He didn't know what I was, and he basically came straight out and said to me, "Well, you know who is responsible for this world's dystopia and the pandemic?" And I said, "No," and he said, "It's the Jews," and I said, "Oh, really? The Jews?" And I said, "And what proof do you have of this?" He goes, "It's everywhere. If you look it up." I said, "Look," I basically kept it really cool and really calm because I wanted to see what he actually had to say about it. And like a typical anti-Semite, Amit, he had nothing to back it up with. He just said, "If you Google," I go, "So what? So every single thing you Google, you think is true, is factual?" That's not the case. And then when I actually said to him, "Well, I'm actually Jewish and I think you're way off," when his jaw hit the ground, he changed his whole tune a little bit. Because most of these people, they're very brazen about their anti-Semitism. They've got no shame. They really enjoy it almost, And that's almost the same as James's character in the cemetery scene. Now, he was enjoying telling me as a Jew that we are responsible for the world's dystopia and for what's happening around the world, and we are to blame for everything. And I just felt that it was important to absolutely annihilate him, but in a respectful, in a respectful way. I mean, you know what? Because I don't want the world to think that Jews are aggressive and violent just like that. So we had to do it in a sort of classy way, didn't we, James? And you sort of really touched on that. And I think it was very important what happened in that scene.
James, you wanted to add something?
This scene was really a combination of what Gil experienced that day, but also Gil, decades of experiencing anti-Semitism directly at you and then seeing it around the world. And I, being a non-Jew, I'm coming from a different background but I've worked with Holocaust survivors, but then and we put all this together, sort of the book I'd written combined with Gil's experiences, and it's all sort of in one scene. And I do play a Holocaust survivor, Holocaust denier, essentially because it was such a terrible role that we couldn't get anyone else to play it. Like, it was not, and I had to shoot this in the eastern suburbs of Sydney, where I was. So I was listening to these lines I'm saying, and they're just terrible. But I also think by laying it out that way, it allows for especially non-Jews to see these scenes and go, "This is what Jews go through in the modern world," and then for Gil to basically do what we do in the book, which is systematically debunk all the crap I'm saying. And I've got no answers to that. And that is where I believe we've laid it out in a way where other non-Jews can see, my God, this is what often on a daily basis, either directly or indirectly, the Jewish struggle continues in this way. And obviously we're seeing lately it appears to be a massive spike in the same old rubbish. And it's hard to believe this continues in the 21st century,
Gil Ben-Moshe, an actor and a producer at Money Shot Production, together with director James Morcan, bringing you Anno 2020, the film's official cinematic launch, booked for Sydney. Thank you so much for both of you, and good luck with the film.
Thank you so much for having us, Amit. Appreciate it.
Thank you. We really enjoyed it.